Thanksgiving weekend, and the gospel lesson that you will be hearing from the 13th chapter of Luke. At that very hour, some Pharisees came and they said to Jesus, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." Jesus said to them, "Go and tell that fox for me. Listen, I'm casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I finish my work. Yet today, tomorrow, and the next day I must be on my way, because it is impossible for a prophet to be killed outside of Jerusalem." Well, as we hear that, I want to explain a little bit about, we throw the name Herod around a couple of different places in the Gospels. The first place that we hear about Herod is around the time of the birth of Jesus. And we hear in the Gospels there about a Herod who is trying to kill Jesus, the baby. And Mary and Joseph flee to Egypt to escape the massacre that occurs of all the firstborn boys in this area, Bethlehem. And the Herod that you hear about is the Herod that we refer to as Herod the Great, who lived largely in the century before Jesus is born. He's called Herod the Great because he expanded the territory of Israel, because he built numerous public structures and palaces and stuff. He built great buildings. He wasn't necessarily the greatest person in the world, which you'll come to understand in a minute. The Herod that you hear about in this reading, the Herod that is referred to by Luke, is his son. And Herod the Great had a great family history. He had a number of sons. There were four of them, and the territory that he ruled was to be divided up between four of them. Two of them he suspected of plotting behind his back, and that would be Aristobulus, one son who was supposed to get one territory, and then Alexandria, another one, and he had both of those sons executed. Then another one of his sons, Antipater, a third son, was found to be involved in a plot to poison his father, and of course he had him executed. This left Herod Antipas, one of the four. He's sometimes known as Herod the Tetrarch, also sometimes known as King Herod, and he rules over the area of Galilee and Perea, which is just to the east of Galilee, and the area where Jesus is doing most of his ministry, in charge there. He rules from right around, we think, just after the birth of Jesus, around at that time, a few years maybe, to about 39 AD. He runs afoul with John the Baptist. John the Baptist is not happy with this Herod Antipater, King Herod, because Herod has taken his brother-in-law's wife, his half-brother's wife, Herodias. He's divorced his first wife, and then he's taken his half-brother's ex-wife as his wife. And John the Baptist decries this, calls him out on it, and so Herod Antipas has him first jailed, and eventually, of course, has his head cut off. When this happens, and Jesus was been baptized by John, is identified with John the Baptist in many different ways, it starts to fall under that. People wonder what's going to happen to him at the hands of Herod. And this is when the Pharisees come and they say, you know what happened to John the Baptist? You'd better watch out, because it may happen to you. Jesus' response and way of thinking about this is, well, the prophets went to Jerusalem to be killed. And I know that as a child of God, son of God, come to carry out his word, it's the place that I must go to. And so we continue our walk during the Lenten season as we